I wasn't supposed to stay long. Just drop off the keys my mom forgot. Maybe say a quick hello and get out before the rain hit. But the laundry room door was half open, and the sound coming from inside, louder than it should have been for just a rinse cycle. I stepped in without thinking. The room was warm, not cozy warm, humid, like something had been running longer than it should. The washing machine buzzed low and steady, a kind of mechanical heartbeat in the tight space. No window, just a dim yellow bulb overhead. It flickered once when I entered. My aunt was leaning forward, her arm braced casually on the top of the washer. She didn't turn right away, just said, "Towels take longer on this setting. It overheats the room." Then she looked at me. She was in an off-white tank top and soft gray joggers, the kind of clothes that looked like they belonged indoors, mid-chore. Damp strands of hair clung to her collarbone. She smiled like I'd caught her doing something she wasn't supposed to, but wasn't ashamed of it. "I didn't know you were still here," I said. "I wasn't," she replied. "Came back for one more load." Then, after a pause, "You let yourself in?" I held up the keys. "Mom asked me to return these. She said you'd be out." "Well, guess I'm not." She moved to the dryer, opened the door. Heat and lavender-scented steam escaped. She didn't flinch. Something in her rhythm was too slow, deliberate. She folded a towel with surgical care, then another. I turned to leave. She didn't. Instead, she leaned back against the washer again, resting her hands behind her on the warm surface. "You always moved too fast," she said. "Even when you were a kid. Rushed everything. Missed details." I glanced back. "You know what I like about this room?" she added, eyes on mine now. "It's loud enough to hide anything." It was playful, but not a joke. Not fully. I felt it, the pulse shift. The wall between ordinary and something else had just cracked. I looked around. The room was still just a laundry room. Same beige tiles. Same old detergent bottles on the wire shelf. But now it felt like a secret. "Aunt Krista," I began. But the moment cut short, her phone rang. She picked it up, looked at the screen, then silenced it. "Your mom," she said, "probably checking if the keys made it." She tossed the phone onto a pile of clean clothes like it didn't matter. "You should probably go," she added, "before she starts to wonder why it took you 10 minutes to walk from the front door." I nodded, but didn't move. The washer kicked into a louder spin cycle, masking the silence. I turned toward the door. Then I heard it, a quick shuffling sound from the back patio. Krista turned her head sharply. "That better not be." She pulled open the laundry room door and peered down the hallway. Nothing. Just the breeze knocking a hanging chime outside. "Still has the damn code," she muttered under her breath. "Should have changed it last month." I raised an eyebrow. "My ex," she said. "Sometimes he drops by for tools. Without knocking." Then she turned to me. "But he wouldn't come in here. Not if the door's shut." She pushed the door nearly closed, leaving it cracked a few inches. The noise from the washer bled out into the house. I took a slow breath. "Well, I guess I'll wait." Her voice was softer now. She folded one last towel, then looked at the drum of the dryer like she was measuring something. "There's one more load," she said, turning halfway toward me. "Heavy stuff, hard to carry." I stared. She didn't explain. Then she added, "You already came this far. Might as well help finish it." The door eased shut behind me, and the washer kept spinning. The next day, I told myself I wasn't going to stop by. I had no excuse, no keys to return, no reason to walk those same steps. But somehow, around the same time, late afternoon, I found myself pulling into the driveway again. The garage was closed. No car in front. The house looked still. I rang the doorbell. No answer. Then I tried the side door, near the kitchen. It was unlocked. And from somewhere deep in the house, I heard the hum of a familiar sound, soft, rhythmic, and growing louder as I stepped inside. The laundry room door was already open this time. Aunt Krista stood barefoot on the tiles, leaning over a basket of half-folded sheets. A small desk lamp on the corner shelf cast a soft orange glow across the room, warmer than the overhead bulb. The washer wasn't running yet, just waiting. The silence was thicker than yesterday. "You're early," she said without looking. "You didn't give me a time." Her lips curved. "Didn't have to." She handed me a fitted sheet, already half-folded. I took the corners without thinking, and we finished it together in silence. Our fingers met once, brushed again. Not an accident. Then, behind me something buzzed. I flinched. Krista glanced toward my pocket. I pulled the phone out. "Mom." Again. 3 missed calls from earlier. 1 unread message. "Don't forget to pick up dinner." I turned the screen down on the shelf. Krista didn't say anything, but she saw. She folded another towel, slower this time. "You don't owe her an explanation," she said. I looked at her. She shrugged. "It's just laundry." We stood there for a moment, the space between us narrowing. There was something in her expression now. Not soft, not sharp. Curious, like she was waiting to see what I would do next. Then she reached for something behind the dryer, an old red towel, clearly out of place among the whites and grays. She held it up. "This thing's useless," she said. "Too rough. But I never throw it out." She pressed it against her palm. "Funny what we keep." She placed it gently on the lid of the washer. Didn't fold it, just left it there. That towel felt like something. A signal, a mark, a line drawn but not yet crossed. Outside, a car engine roared down the street and stopped abruptly. We both froze. Krista moved quickly, reaching for the edge of the door. Not to close it, but to open it wider, to listen. Footsteps on gravel. Voices low, laughing. Probably the neighbors from across the street. She exhaled, leaning back against the doorframe. The washer beeped, ready to start. She turned to me. "Still want to help?" I nodded. She opened the lid. I grabbed the detergent. As I poured, she stood behind me, closer than necessary. Her voice was just behind my ear. Slow this time. "Let it soak." My hand trembled slightly. I set the bottle down. She didn't step back. Then I turned. We were face to face, close enough to feel the heat between us. The warm air from the dryer, the quiet drumbeat of rising tension. Her eyes searched mine, not asking, just waiting. It would have taken 1 step, maybe half. But then loud, clear, came the sharp bark of a dog right outside the windowless wall. A leash clinking, a voice calling out, "Hey, get back here." Krista jerked back instinctively. She smoothed her hair, stepped to the side. Tension snapped like a rubber band. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. She looked at me again, calmer now. "I told you," she said with a faint smile. Thin walls, louder washer. Then more quietly, "Friday, 6. You remember that towel?" She turned the washer on. The sound filled the room again. Steady, deep, almost hypnotic. And I walked out the door before I did something I couldn't rewind. Friday came faster than I expected. I spent the whole day telling myself not to go. But at 6 sharp, like a reflex, I was back at the side door, hand on the cool metal handle. The house was quiet, too quiet. I slipped inside, shutting the door softly behind me. No TV, no kitchen sounds. Just the low hum of a dryer already running somewhere deeper in the house. The air smelled faintly of detergent and something sweet, like oranges. The laundry room was dimmer than before. Only the desk lamp burned, casting a pool of amber light across the floor. Aunt Krista was there, sitting on the edge of the dryer this time, the red towel folded neatly beside her like a marker on a map. "You're on time," she said. "You said 6. "I did." She tilted her head. "Good boy." I stepped in, closing the door partway. The dryer steady were filled the silence between us. She didn't stand up. Instead, she patted the spot next to her. I didn't move. "I shouldn't be here," I said. "You're already here." Her eyes glinted. "That's the point." She reached for the red towel, unfolded it, let it drape over her lap. The same towel that had been a symbol of nothing but old laundry now looked like something else, an invitation or a confession. She ran her thumb along its frayed edge. Outside, a car door slammed. We both stiffened. The sound of keys jingling at the front door followed. Then a voice, muffled but distinct. "Krista." My heart thudded. She shot me a look, finger over her lips. "That's him," she mouthed. I glanced at the windowless wall, no escape. She stood, motioned me toward the tiny utility closet across from the washer. "Go," she whispered. I hesitated. If I stayed, I risked being caught. If I left, I risked more, breaking whatever fragile line we'd been tracing for days. I didn't move. She stepped closer, grabbed my wrist, eyes locking onto mine. Her voice was barely sound. "You're not a kid anymore." It hit like a confession, even if it wasn't meant to be one. I could feel her pulse through her fingers. I leaned in a fraction, but then the front door opened fully. Footsteps echoed down the hall. Male voice, clearer now. "Krista? You here? Garage door won't open." She let go of my wrist, moving fast, pulling the laundry room door almost closed, leaving only a narrow sliver. The dryer hummed louder, masking her footsteps as she stepped into the hall. I stayed where I was, back against the cool metal of the washer. Heart hammering. Muffled conversation floated back. Her ex asking about a tool. Her voice, calm but clipped, telling him to check the garage. A pause. Then the sound of the front door shutting again. Silence. She reappeared in the doorway, breathing hard, a faint flush on her cheeks. She shut the door all the way this time, turned the lock. "That was close," she said, not looking at me. I exhaled. "I almost left. But you didn't." She stepped closer, holding the red towel between her hands. "It's not just laundry anymore," she said quietly. "You know that." Her eyes lifted to mine, a question without words. I took the towel from her hands. It was warm. I folded it once, then set it back down, deliberately next to the lamp. Her lips parted slightly. The dryer buzzed, signaling the end of its cycle. Krista reached behind the lamp and pulled out a small square of paper. She held it out without speaking. On it, in her handwriting, "Tomorrow, 7 p.m., upstairs. Door will be open." Then she pressed the note into my palm, curling my fingers over it. The washer clicked off. The silence after felt heavier than the noise before. Saturday evening came wrapped in the same low sky and cold drizzle. I had a work shift that night, but I called in sick, telling my manager I couldn't make it. My phone buzzed with messages I didn't open, one from my mom, one from a friend. Then I switched the phone off completely and left it in the glove compartment. If anyone asked, I was somewhere else entirely. When I stepped through the side door of my aunt's house, the sound of the washer was already there. A low thrum under everything, like a warning tone. The laundry room door was shut, but a thin strip of warm light showed at the bottom. I pushed it open. Krista stood in the middle of the room, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the floor. The red towel lay on top of the dryer, unfolded, a splash of color in the muted space. She looked different tonight, softer around the edges, but also more fragile, like a drawn bow that had been kept at tension too long. "You didn't answer your phone," she said quietly. "I turned it off." She gave a faint, sad smile. "Dangerous habit." I stepped in, closing the door behind me. The washer's steady churn filled the silence between us. "I lied about work," I admitted. "I'm supposed to be there now." She lifted her eyes to mine. "That's not nothing." "I know." For a long moment she didn't move. Then she reached for the edge of the counter, gripping it with both hands. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "You left the note." "I know." She walked to the dryer, touching the red towel like it was a relic. "I kept this," she said, not looking at me, "from when you were little. You spilled juice on it and I washed it 3 times and the stain never came out. I almost threw it away, but somehow I didn't." Her voice thinned. "I keep a lot of things I shouldn't." I moved closer, but stopped a few steps away. "You're not wearing your ring," I said. She laughed without humor. "Hasn't been mine for a year." Then softer. "He left. Officially. Papers signed 2 months ago. No one in the family knows." She turned fully now, her back to the washer. "I hate this room," she said. "It's the only place in the house that doesn't echo at night. It's the only place I can stand being alone." I wanted to say something but couldn't find words. The washer's churn filled the gap. Then outside, a sound cut through the night. A sharp knock on glass. Both of us froze. Krista darted to the door, cracked it open just enough to listen. Footsteps on gravel. A man's voice low, too close. "Thought I saw someone go in there." She shut the door quickly, pressed her back to it. "That's my neighbor," she whispered. "He's nosy. Thinks he's being helpful." Her hands trembled. I reached for her shoulder. She didn't pull away. Instead, she closed her eyes, leaning slightly into the touch. When she opened them again, there was no mask. "I don't want to hide anymore," she said. "I'm tired of pretending I'm fine. I'm tired of empty rooms." The washer clicked to a faster spin, drowning everything else. I felt the thrum through the floor, through my shoes. I took one step closer, then another until we were face to face. Her breath brushed my neck. I could have crossed the line. But the porch light flicked on, motion sensor triggered. A silhouette passed by the small frosted window in the hallway. Krista stiffened. "He's still out there," she whispered. I exhaled, stepped back. "Then what do we do?" She hesitated, then reached for the red towel, folding it once, then again, precise. She handed it to me like a code. "Tomorrow," she said. "Not here. Not this room. By the old shed at the end of the driveway. 7 sharp." Her eyes flicked to the window. "Bring this towel. I'll know it's you." The washer beeped, ending its cycle. The room went quiet except for our breathing. I tucked the towel under my arm. She unlocked the door, not looking back. Sunday evening brought the kind of quiet that only happens right before something changes. No rain, no wind, just the stillness that wraps itself around a house when everyone inside holds their breath. I walked the side path behind the garage, past the overgrown shrubs, toward the shed at the far end of the driveway. The red towel was tucked under my arm, folded tight. The shed used to be where my uncle kept tools and old paint cans. Now it was just a forgotten structure, a hollow space nobody visited. Except now. The door was slightly ajar. A soft glow spilled out through the crack. I stepped inside. The walls were bare, dust floating in the warm lamplight. A camping lantern sat on a stool in the corner. And in the middle of the room, Krista stood with her back to me, hair pinned up loosely, wearing the same gray joggers, but a dark cardigan now pulled off one shoulder. She didn't turn right away. I placed the towel on the nearby table, letting it unfold halfway. I brought it, I said. I know. Then she turned. No sound between us. No washer to mask what came next. I took one step closer, then another. She didn't stop me. Her hand lifted to my chest. Slow, steady, deliberate. And then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against mine. The moment wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The weight of the entire week lived in that one silent touch. That was the choice. Not spoken but made. Clear as the locked doors and missed calls and red towel in my hands. We didn't say what it was. Didn't give it a name. But we stayed in that room longer than we should have. Long enough for the light to flicker out. Long enough for me to know I wasn't going to undo it. 1 week later, I was back in the laundry room, mid-afternoon. Warm outside, but cooler in the house. Krista had left a small pile of clothes near the washer, folded with that same impossible precision. I walked in like I belonged. No knock, no warning. She didn't say anything, just pointed to the dryer. I opened it, pulled out the warm towels one by one. At the very bottom was the red towel, still folded, still waiting. I glanced up. She was already walking away, but paused in the doorway. "No one asks questions about laundry," she said. "It's the only room where things get quieter the louder it gets." I held the towel to my chest. We didn't touch this time, but we didn't need to. 3 weeks later, every Sunday now around 5:30, I show up with a small basket, 1 or 2 things that don't really need washing. I take my time. So does she. Sometimes we talk. Sometimes we don't. But the washer's always on. The red towel always folded. And the door always closed. The light above the washer flickers once, then holds steady, just long enough for me to see her hand resting on the folded towel.